Hello, adventurers! My name is Chance. Welcome to my Spellbook, and thank you for taking a look at the second episode in our background series. Today we're going over Anthropologist, which is an interesting one. I think in terms of role play, there's a lot you can do with this. Certainly a lot you can do with this. It's found in the Tomb of Annihilation, so it's kind of something that I don't think everyone will be aware of, just because it is an adventure module. So, well, it is an adventure. It's not a core rule book. So, likely you don't have access to this, or you might have never heard of it until now. In any case, it's pretty neat. Let's dive right into its description here. Before becoming an adventurer, you spent much of your adult life away from your homeland, living among people different from your kin. One culture had more influence on you than any other, and they provide this a nice little chart. You roll a d8, select whatever, or you can just pick your own or have a conversation with your DM about it. I usually recommend the conversation with the DM over stuff like this, just because I am a strong believer in the session zero concept during character creation, and you might as well, right? Like, there's no real harm in it. And who knows, he might have a arc or a species of his own in mind, and who knows, you can bounce ideas off of each other, right? In any case, let's move on to the mechanics here. Under skill proficiencies, you'll gain insight and religion, and you gain 2 languages of your choice. Under the equipment, you get a leather-bound diary, a bottle of ink, an ink pen, a set of traveler's clothes, and 1 special trinket of significance. You also gain a pouch containing 10 gold piece, which is okay. Now let's look at their feature. This one is called Adept Linguist. You can communicate with humanoids who don't speak any language you know. You must observe the humanoids interacting with one another for at least 1 day, after which you learn a handful of important words, expressions, and gestures enough to communicate on a rudimentary level. I really like this. I think it's super neat, and I think it adds a ton of utility. Although technically, you can make an argument that the Comprehend Language Ritual spell might outclass this. The Comprehend Languages is more of a literal translation, and most languages they offer up, or they typically work off of expressions more than direct translations. So I feel like this is still more useful. And I would make an argument that after several days, you would be able to gain a good enough understanding of their language to actually speak it. Although that might be game breaking in some senses. It all depends on the campaign, right? But I think having one character that has a great grasp of every single language might be a force to be reckoned with in most political or planescape related campaigns, because that's usually the biggest hurdle, right? Although that is just my experience speaking, so who knows, your game world might operate on a different set of skills. In any case, it puts you in a good position. Now let's go over to the suggested characteristics. Now, the book offers a ton. I always recommend coming up with your own. However, if you want to roll, you can find the charts online pretty easily. I just don't think they'd fit very well within the confines of the video, although who knows, in the future I might do it. It just looks out of place if I include too many charts. But for the example, the personality trait is I would rather observe than meddle. The ideal is knowledge. By understanding other races and cultures, we learn and understand ourselves. And that applies to any alignment. And bond, years ago, tragedy struck the members of an isolated society. I befriended and I will honor them. And under the flaw, I wear a tribal mask and never take it off. So the character concept I was going for was kind of like a pseudo edgelord, I guess. Long story short, happy-go-lucky, went traveling, found one culture that he fell in love with, and he really became close. They accepted him, had a big ceremony, but the end part of the ceremony was he had to go out and hunt some mythical beast, and he did it and found everyone just completely slaughtered, and he blamed himself for it because maybe if he was there, he could have helped them out. And that kind of explains why he now has the belief that it's better to observe and stay out of the way, just purely as a watcher. And the tribal mask he wears was the mask of his pseudo father. And you could play it off however you wish, but that's kind of the concept I was going for. Really interesting, kind of heart wrenching, but lots of roleplay opportunity for sure. Now let's get to my personal thoughts on it. I think it's really good. I could very easily, in a feudal society or anything with a large governing bodies, this background will provide you and your party with a significant edge, gaining you access to places you might not ordinarily have access to, and it would also gain you the ability to build a rapport with people rather immediately. That's, of course, assuming that the Adept Linguist feature has a cumulative impact and you're able to retain a lot of that information, which I would probably allow, but if your DM has reservations about that, and some of them might, you can get around it by just taking the Keen Mind feat, and that should seal the deal. It's a very strong case to be made, and ultimately, you at that point I would of course make the argument that you have sacrificed for it, right? Not only did you take this as your background, so that's your background feature, but you also took a feat on top of that. So that's two resources geared towards remembering languages. And although you might not be as good as a native speaker as them, you could still serve as an interpreter or as a diplomat or ambassador, however you want to roleplay it. Go nuts. You could even be a traitor, right? Or a spy, even. The sky's really the limit. Language is one of those things in Dungeons and Dragons in general that I find is rather underutilized. But maybe it's a campaign by campaign thing. This certainly is likely not to help you out in combat. You might be able to avoid combat altogether, however, but in your day to day, this will be interesting for sure. So don't forget, use it when you can. Build up that roster of languages, and who knows, it might come in handy one day. In terms of what classes work best with this, I want to say bards are the obvious choice, if they can learn tales from other cultures and then interpret them into their own stories or their own songs, or however you're making your bard communicate, then it would be probably the ideal way to do it. Wizards could take advantage of it by being able to study through other practitioners, although wizards are more of the studious type. They like to read a lot. I'm not too sure how well they'd work with oral traditions. Clerics would benefit from this a lot, especially if it's their aim to spread their faith or to better understand other deities. So, there's a couple classes that would work pretty dang good with this. And in terms of races, preferably some that are nomadic or well-versed. I could see elves making sense with this lore-wise. Dwarves, probably not so much. Halflings would make sense, though. Just apply it to your game world as well. I mean, who knows, right? That being said, that's really all I have to say about Anthropologist. It's a neat background that not a lot of people are going to know about. And there's potential for you building your character up with each strange encounter they run into, which is certainly an interesting idea, right? And of course, treat your suggested characteristics, treat them like a living document, so don't be afraid to change them as various things transpire or you learn more information. That was I addressed that in the Acolyte video, but just bear that in mind as well. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. A lot of you seem to like this series, so that's always good to hear. And if you'd like a free one-shot, go to the Guild Hall. Links down beneath in the description. Use code WELCOME. They're only like $1 each. But as thanks for watching the video, go get it. There's 2 up there now. We're adding more, and they're about the same length. So go nuts. Let me know if you like them. And yeah, that's it. So have a great day, everyone. And as always, happy adventuring.